Hi, Nan.
Hey, how are ya?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Hey, I'm hoping next week we can get together for dinner. If
I
all-
would love that. I have to get a Measure 56 notice out next week, so let me see how that goes. But yes,
Okay.
I will call you outside of our public meeting and let you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Parker should be getting it going here
okay.
real quick. I'm staying in my office because I've got to get a report done.
Yeah, I was going to come in person too, but I had to get stuff done today, and I'm going to be in Oceanside for the Gateway signage. They're doing
So
celebration.
good.
I
So
know.
good. Yes, yes, agreed. Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Ah,
They're
and then
very proud, and we have a 4-sided kiosk and 3 interpretive signs that are getting their final touches in design right now too. So we'll get those going as well.
that's great. And did you guys help with the Bay City Gateway signs?
We did all of Bay Cities.
They look so nice.
Don't
So
they?
nice. Yeah, they do. I just think that just like it's I love all the color schemes and Cape Mears look beautiful. You guys have just done a great job.
Rockaways is really nice too, and we're just about to start on the design intent drawings for Manzanita. And Garibaldi will start the planning this summer. So
That's exciting. Yeah, and their transportation project plan should be done. And so
yes,
fresh streets and sidewalks and new signs. That's going to be great.
it looks wonderful.
Mhm.
ODOT did such a great job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's wonderful. Parker jumped on, then I saw he jumped off. So, oh, there he is.
Oh,
He's back. And there they all are. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear us okay?
Wonderful. Nan, can you hear them?
Yeah.
yes, I can.
Great.
Thank you.
Great.
Had a misfire with the owl on my first attempt in.
That's all right. It happens. It happens to the best of us, Parker, as you know. It's always a struggle and a surprise.
What does this do?
That's just another microphone
Oh,
because sometimes it gets too far away.
Gotcha.
It picks up there and there. It's smart enough to echo and all that good stuff.
got it.
It's monitoring the computer chip that they put it. Yeah.
I like the holiday decor, Parker. Nice touch.
Thank you. Thank you. Slowly, this room becomes more interesting. Everybody, please, bring some around. Rich. Well,
There.
okay, everyone's good.
Oops.
All right.
10 more minutes. That's like. Don't delay the ceremony, so I can for the Christmas. Sorry, I'm just doing this. Oh, sorry, I have that color scheme today. There you go. Wow.
She gets called.
I think so. There's just got blue and white. Almost, it's like the patriotic. Yeah. Good morning. How are you? Well, good. Well, how many, so we're still waiting for quite a few people from health commission
Here they go.
They're coming in.
Dave. I presume that's. Gail. Perfect. That's a new Rockaway player.
Great.
Dave did join it and
Yeah.
Dave.
And it's like, well, that's through here. No way. Oh, that's that's through here. Track check from the Urban Nationals, and I think it's 1970s. It's not a lot, it's like, so.
All right, well, it is 9 a.m. Good morning on July 3rd. Hope everybody's doing well and looking forward to a day off tomorrow, hopefully. This is the Tillamook County Housing Commission, and I just want to welcome everybody today. And we have quite a few housing commissioners here in the room today, which I'm glad to see everybody. And then we'll ask us if we want to go ahead and introduce the housing commissioners that are online, and then we'll come back to the room and have all of our visitors. Actually, why don't we just go around the room first? And if you're a housing commissioner, go ahead and state your role. And Parker, I'm going to start with you.
All right. My name is Parker Sammons and I am the Tillamook County Housing Coordinator.
There's something there. There's spray here.
Hi, good morning. I'm Corinne Vick. I'm the project manager for the Han over at Care Inc.
I'm Gail Uzel. I'm a Housing Commission member at large.
I'm Kristen Koptiuk. I'm a Housing Commission member at large, also based in Rockaway Beach.
Mark Kestner, Housing Commissioner, North County.
Carrie Fleischer, Chair and Housing Member at Large.
Chris Wilkes, Housing Commission member at large and Development Committee.
Visitor.
Dave Keeler.
Your county better.
Sarah Denzel, Housing Commission member and a member of the real estate community.
Hi, my name is Victor Gennaro. I'm a residential and commercial general contractor and a builder. And ultimately, I'd like to present, not in this meeting, but a proposal I have or an idea to build FHA and VA housing here in the North Coast.
Great, thank you for coming. Online, we have Nan.
There we go. Okay. Hi, and Nan Devlin and Tillamook Coast Visitors Association, and I represent the tourism industry on this commission.
Great. Sarah.
Good morning, everyone. Sarah Absher, Director of Community Development. Nice to see you all.
Dave Bennett.
Good morning. Dave Bennett, South County Representative.
Great, good morning. And can you help me with the other people's names?
Abram, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Of course. Good morning, everyone. My name is Abram Tapia. I'm the new city planner for Rockaway Beach. Pleasure to be here.
Will?
Will Chattel from the Tillamook Light Herald.
Great, good morning.
And this is somebody who's note taker.
That's fine.
Hello, AI note taker.
All right, I'm going to pass it off to Mark.
We usually start with a mission or go on with the mission minute where people can shout out or speak out about things of interest that are happening in the county, that are notable housing wise.
I was approached yesterday by someone that wants to look at possibilities. There's a section of land that if we can get rezoned and developed, be 25 to 35 houses, so.
Wow.
Right.
I don't know if we mentioned, but maybe the last meeting, construction is starting on the 60-unit affordable housing apartment complex in Manzanita. I drove by and took 2 pictures. Nice pretty hills and then this big moving sand around. So something's happening. And that presumably is on schedule and it's, that's all gonna be a lot of apartments. It's gonna be great.
I was sitting in a meeting someplace, and I'm not going to speak about it very eloquently right now. And I heard our funds being talked about, that somebody who had received them, and Chris, it's on the project that you're working on Second Street. And that they received a grant, like the.
I don't know if
One of
that's
the
building
ones-
that got the Main Street grant or
One
if
of
the
them-
Bill's building got it. One of them did.
Yeah, I think it was that one, got the Main Street grant, and that, the funds that were from our funds utilized and made it to where it was a little bit more helpful, so.
Great.
I want to take the moment and just really shout out for Chris and Mark and Michelle, who's not here today. They went and attended the meeting in Bay City regarding a development that was a little spicy, and I'm just really happy that they were there representing the Housing Commission. I think they did a lot to cool the temperature in the room, and I wasn't there, but I've heard really great things, and everybody spoke very highly about that. And I'm very appreciative for you guys to do that. It takes time, and it's exhausting being in those rooms, and it's even more exhausting when you are one of the few voices on one side or the other. So just want to say thank you guys for doing that. That was great. I really appreciate it both, in my position and personally. So thank you.
And I did see Briar pop in. Do you want to introduce yourself, Briar?
Yes, Briar Smith, Tillamook County Habitat for Humanity. For some reason, it was letting me in and out of the room, so I apologize for that.
Well, good morning. And now we're going to move on to public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to make comment this morning?
I got the pink memo.
Great. Great. Perfect. And moving on was, we have our wonderful county treasurer here, Sean Blanchard, and she is going to give us educate us on our housing fund.
So the housing fund has been interesting since Sarah and I first established it. Moving forward, this last fiscal year, we finally caught up with all the contracts and the grants that were given out that the finance committee had decided on. So thankfully, I think we finally have a good starting number. I emailed that out yesterday afternoon. I'm not sure who all was on that email grid today. It shows about a balance of 900,000 grants going forward, plus expenses for this fiscal year. Parker salary, miscellaneous, office supplies, non-cap equipment, sorry, the flag wasn't sure there.
Sorry.
So I hope, I'm not sure who all was on that email list, but I can definitely send it out.
Finance committee, I think you said it too.
Okay, good. So I hope that answers questions. I'm very happy that we finally got all the grants to the commissioners and out last fiscal year, so that way that wasn't all rolling forward. It looked like there was a bigger balance than what was actually there, and that's all just due to timing. I don't have any other reports than that. The revenues seem to be staying stable for you guys to distribute to projects that are out in the community. And I think it's been a wonderful project for this community to have. Any questions for me?
Dave, I hope Dave is at a meeting or somewhere.
Hi, good morning. I've got a
Good
question
morning.
for Sean.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Sean, thank you for doing this for us. It's very helpful. Let's see, a couple of questions with regard to the current estimated fund balance. We're about $910,000. Is that what I see at the bottom of that fourth column?
Yes.
Okay, great. Do you know, have we pulled out all of the sheriff's funds that come out of that 75%, 25% split?
No, for this fiscal year, 25, 26. No, those have not come out yet.
Okay. But the previous year's share that goes to the sheriff's department, have those amounts been pulled out? Do you know?
Yes, they were part of the transfer to the general fund.
Okay, great. So of that $910,000, I guess we'll need to kind of think about the sheriff's share of that, which is what, 25% of the $610,000 in license fees? Does that sound right?
Sarah, does that sound correct to you? And I can send some estimates on that for this year and also estimating Parker's costs and whatnot if you'd like later today.
Yeah, I think that that's a good idea, Sean. So Dave, I would defer to Sean. Those revenue numbers have stabilized just simply because of the caps, the waiting lists, all of the work we've done with the short-term rental program. So I think the revenue stream, including what will go to the public safety initiatives, that 25%, should start becoming what you have seen, because that fee should not fluctuate very much, right? It's based on guest occupancy, but our numbers we've leveled out, they're pretty consistent. The other thing that is, there's two things I would also say, Sean, that in that follow-up report. One, I think everyone is aware that the county is undergoing a robust process for a comp wage analysis. So as a department head and just overall, when we look at salaries, there may be something that's impacted there. And also, I've put the requisition in to hire the office specialist too for support for the housing division. We all know Parker is very busy. That money has not yet come out of the housing fund because we have not filled that position. So my goal is to fill that by the end of summer. And if that's the case, that will also impact like what you're seeing in that budget sheet. So I think having Sean here today is good to kind of answer those initial questions and that starting point and have that dialogue. And then she and I can continue to do our work to come back to answer any questions that come up or just with these adjustments that I've shared.
Yeah, and I'm more than happy to get those costs and send that back out to the finance committee. I just need a direction of what you guys are looking for. So knowing that information, Sarah and Dave, if you have any other questions, anybody, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
I have one more. I know that that's something that the Housing Commission has wanted to understand better is, and we do not like to have contingencies on our grant funds that go out, but we do have a couple out there this year. And there's one that is looking like it may trigger and send the $80,000 we sent out back to us. And how do we account for that when money comes back like that?
If it comes back, then it'll come back as a refund, reimbursement, or miscellaneous. And then it's just a note in our accounting software that says why it came back. It doesn't go back into the expense line, goes into the revenue line. So it should be easily trackable. And we can work on that Parker internally to make sure that you'll be able to follow that.
That's perfect. That's perfect. And if anyone's curious, Jeff Wong looks like is probably going to be successful in his ag worker housing tax credit application. And just to remind everybody, that is a tax credit for ag workers. There is an on-farm and off-farm program. And if you receive it, you get 50% of the cost of your project and in the form of tax credit. And then you can take that tax credit to the open market, and it sells for between like 80 to 90% of face value, depending on where the market is. And so it will take that tax benefit and put money in your pocket now, and some other company will buy the credit to mitigate their taxes, and that 10% is where everybody wins. So we had a contingency on Mr. Wong's contract that if he's successful, our grant comes back because we feel that is more than enough public funds to get that to go. So that's just a little update. We might be hearing about that again real soon, and we'll be in contact.
So is the upshot from that, that the money is noted and we can spend it the following year?
Follow up into another grant, yeah.
Okay, so it doesn't just go no general fund?
No, it does not. It is a complete and total separate fund.
Okay, okay, thank you.
And I think the difference between this and the last situation with Danny McGinley, who never accepted his funds, is that there might be a little way to distinguish that in the future if we run into that situation again, though we're very good at our jobs and I don't expect it to happen again. So.
Well, more questions for Sean, if I could. Sean, in the analysis we have here for the 24-25 year, we're showing about $610,000 in license fees, and there's a transfer to the general fund of $154,000, which is just about 25% of this year's license fees. Do you know, was that $154,000 transfer, was that for the sheriff's department?
That was Sarah, you can confirm that was for I think the sheriff's office, some reimbursement of Sarah's time. We weren't tracking it in payroll up until this fiscal year started. There were a couple other things. Remind me if I'm wrong, Sarah, is that correct?
Can you repeat that one more? What can you repeat that question, please?
It was the sheriff's, which we established a new fund this year as a public initiative.
Safety.
Public safety initiative fund. So now it will be going not into the general fund, but into its own fund to be able to track it better. Which it wasn't in the general fund. Seems like things seem to disappear in there, and we'd really rather show what the funds are being used for, what they've been delegated for by ordinance 86.
That is correct.
86. So it is in its own fund this fiscal year. It had been general fund prior fiscal year, and we're trying to separate that out.
Okay, so I guess my thought was that it looks like we haven't transferred the 25 sheriff's portion out yet.
For fiscal year 25-26, no.
Okay.
Because we just started July. I can get you an estimate for that, and I can include it with the sheriff fees, the salaries, any known costs that Parker may know of coming up this fiscal year, and resend that out. But it's going to be an estimate.
Okay.
Right.
That's great. Okay.
And part of that is because it's a rolling collection, Dave, right? So it's not money. I mean, the bulk of the money collected is May through July. So it's an estimate, and the timing of that with the fiscal year is very difficult because the bulk, 75% of the funds are coming in at the very end of our fiscal year. And technically, I mean, when you look at the short-term rental ordinance of when they have to pay, you know, there's a very small grace period there. So even if the bulk of those licenses are May and June to make that payment, we may not see it until July and August. So it is a rolling allocation, and it's our best estimate when we are preparing the budgets to get that line item of what it may be.
This fund has generated a fair amount of interest. Do you know how those interest revenues might be allocated between the sheriff's fund, the housing fund, and maybe the brownfield fund?
So the ordinance for the split is specific in terms of 75% for housing, 25% for public safety. When we started that program, so I was the primary author of that ordinance and of designing that STR license program. And we worked with a sense of urgency to get this funding program up and running as quickly as possible, right? When in doing that work, I did not specify in Ordinance 86 what the specific allocation would be for public safety and housing. That was work that was intended to be done in next steps with the Board of Commissioners, and the Sheriff's Office and others would be to further define what that means. And that's something that was part of the conversation, especially for the public safety piece during this last budget proceeding. And so that work is still to be done. In terms of brownfield and other projects in the 75% for housing, I feel like we've done a good job in keeping those funds available to allocate them where the greatest need is appearing to be each year, right? So our responsibility is to demonstrate that we are appropriately using that 75% of those funds for housing initiatives. We have more grants coming in, we hope, for brownfield work. And in fact, in talking with Chris Kiola, I believe we've just secured another brownfield grant. But in terms of larger specificity, I think one of the things that's important for the 75% of the funds is to make sure that you have, and the Housing Commission has, some leeway for projects and funding. And we do our best at the beginning of the fiscal year to anticipate what we're going to do, like the housing needs assessment update and other things. But largely with that 75%, Parker and I sit down and go, okay, what do we need this year? What do we think we need this year for housing efforts? What does the Planning Commission want to see? And what does the board want to see? And then all of those requests for funding typically funnel through the Board of County Commissioners because they require a contract or other work. So there is that public, transparent piece that comes with those decisions.
Okay. So this fund has earned over $150,000 in interest since its inception. And I guess my understanding is that a portion of that interest won't need to be shared with the Sheriff's Department.
Sean, I can't speak to that. Is that something you can speak to?
I would say that no, it stays in that fund. The 25% that goes to the sheriff's office is off the fees. Generally leave interest in special revenue funds when they earn it, because they're the ones that take the most of the, how do you say this? The special revenue funds, they're special. I mean, I don't. If there's a specific fee that is for that special revenue fund, it should stay within that special revenue fund. So no, it's off the fees that the 25% is transferred into the sheriff's office. I don't like to mess with interest. It should stay, in my opinion, and what we have done in my office, it has stayed within special revenue funds and not moved to the general fund because it's short funds.
Great, great. You know, the way we broke this down and allocated this between the different activities, the brownfield homeless fund portion of this, at the very bottom of the page there, we've got a $289,000 deficit. I guess that means we've spent $289,000 more with regard to brownfield and home activities than we've taken in revenues. Would that be a reasonable way to interpret that?
So the Homeless Connect has been moved into its own special revenue fund. The reason it was moved into the workforce housing is I didn't want the general fund to eat it up. At the time that we received those funds in the House Bill 4123, I think it is. So those funds have been transferred into their own special revenue fund, can't be eaten up by the general fund. The Brownsfield is a reimbursement, so we're waiting on reimbursements to offset those, and it just crossed fiscal years.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions I have. Shauna and Sarah, thank you so much for helping us with this. It greatly clarifies it.
Good. I just wanted to clarify for people watching this in the future that these revenues are coming from the county unincorporated areas, short-term license fees.
Short-term
not the
operator
cities.
license fees.
Operator license fees. Not from the cities.
My question is, we have incoming grant funds that come with admin fee of $180,000. That's time that I will need to be billing over several months, but they're letting me backfill an awful lot of it. How will that show up into the fund? And will that be going to our fund, or will the county be
No,
intercepting that?
you're paid out of the special revenue fund, so it'll be going to the workforce housing fund.
Okay,
Is it state or federal?
it's federal.
So it'll be tracked, with the GL code 4225.
Yep.
We should probably assign a revenue source code, be easier to track. Also, your time, we can split you out in payroll, so very trackable, very doable on
Okay.
our end. We just need a little heads up and we'll put the numbers in our system for you to be able to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you for your time this morning,
Yeah, thank you so much.
and feel free to hang out with us or go on and do your business.
Beyond this, and if the finance committee has anything else that they want projections thrown out, just shoot me an email, let me know, or give me a call.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful work.
We will.
All right, well, that puts Parker on deck.
Sure does. Well, I just alluded to the first one, which is the CERTA funds, which I've spoken at length here because of the nature of them coming in and out, up, down, left, and sideways, are now fully on track. I have a copy of the IGA that came in yesterday from DEQ. I'll be taking it before the county commissioners on July 15th, at which point the program can go live. Some nice little bonuses I learned about this week. DEQ got is producing a whole bunch of materials for us, handouts, info sheets, things to make it easier for people to access the program. And to remind everybody, this is a grant from the EPA through Oregon DEQ for space efficient housing. And so this can apply to any units that are below 800 square feet for one bedroom. And it's $20,000 per. It is a rebate that you can apply for during your project, and you get it at the end once you get occupancy. And that was to avoid going into Davis-Bacon. And we really want to avoid that because we want this fund to be able to support individual homeowners to build an ADU and help cover their SDC fees. And DEQ worked really hard to make sure that that was possible with this program. So that is $3.6 million plus $180,000 of admin fee coming our way. And that's very, very exciting. So next, it'll be on the agenda 15th, and on the 15th, the day after, we will celebrate it, put it on our social media, let everybody know that it is super duper happening. Until then, I don't want to shout just because of the nature of how many times these funds have been accessible and inaccessible. So we will just wait. And then next up, and I'm going to share my screen for this one. Oops, that's not what I want. We have also done our 2024 reporting for the Housing Production Solutions Fund. And here I have a spreadsheet showing all of the units that have been completed so far. And also, if I can get it to scroll over a little bit, the status of the project right now. And I think what's important to highlight here is the number of completed units the Housing Commission has supported so far is 39, with 245 supported overall. And we also have some units that have been supported by the tax abatement program, which I might have calculated too high. I double counted one of them, which would be the Spruce Point, which is the Manzanita Affordable, which is in development. Spruce Point successfully submitted a valid application for the Ordinance 85 tax abatement program, so they are all set on that. And Nate Palmer will be submitting his for the Bay City project. And Kevin Chlulka gave me a report for the tax abatement that showed he was in good standing and actually 10% below 100% AMI average. So he's averaging just over 90% average. You can see that right here. So anybody who gave me more detailed reporting for the tax abatement program, I put their full average AMI up here. But you can see that is really working. Siegel's Rest, several of these projects, Tillamook Bay Commons, et cetera, have all chosen to reduce their AMI range from 120 down to 100% average. And again, that's an average. So sometimes they'll have some a little higher and some a little lower. But that really does show that tax abatement program is really working. and it's created a lot of incentive, which is another great way to segue into a quick. Oh, I didn't share this to everybody online, did I? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Parker, I had a question about the abatement when you have a,
Absolutely.
you're talking about a county tax abatement, right?
So that's a good question, Mark. So, to just kind of go over again, Ordinance 85 is a tax abatement program, and there's, get that back up here. Ordinance 85 is a tax abatement program for any multifamily housing that is 4 units or more and averages 100% AMI or less, and it's a 10-year tax abatement. This has been a really great benefit, but there's also this incoming state program called the Middle Income Revolving Loan Fund that I'm going to be making a big push for over the next couple months. The Middle Income Revolving Loan Fund will not play nicely with our tax abatement program, which is a little unfortunate, but it does show that, you know, using tax on the other end can actually really help incentivize a project just by the abatement. But even more, when you take the combined total of that abatement and you give it to them upfront as a 0% interest loan from the state of Oregon. So that's what the MERL program is. They take your taxes and they estimate 10 years or 10 to 15 years out. It depends on what counties and cities decide. And they take all of the tax that you would pay over that time period and they give it to you up front. And then when you pay your taxes, instead of it going to taxes, it goes back to the state of Oregon until the debt is paid. And so that is great because who doesn't want their money up front? Burn the hand. So that's a program that, and the maximum amount that you can get is whatever 10 years of taxes are for that property. And that is a pretty great way to do it because smaller projects get the correct amount, larger projects get the correct amount. There is a $25,000 per door limit on the upper end of it, but it's hard to hit that every time with the tax abatement like that. And again, it can go out to 15 years, which does, increase by 50% the amount of money you can get up front. It does require an ordinance for the county, and it does require a lot of nods and everybody happy and understanding. And it does require an ordinance with the city. So this will take some time, and I'll keep everybody posted. But this will move at the light speed of government as it does.
And I'm specifically interested because the city of Manzanita passed an ordinance or whatever code for a tax abatement for affordable housing too. So is this all a big pot that sort of you can only get so much?
Sure. I went so far wandering, I got away from your question there. So the county has our ordinance, and then cities can take that ordinance and also apply it to the city. And the county does the administration still, so I still track it even if it's in the city.
Gotcha.
They basically just allow it, and then the application comes to me. I take it to the commissioners. Everybody nods, and it goes to the assessor's office. But yeah, so even in the cities, and the cities that have chosen to take part so far are Bay City and Manzanita. Other cities have not yet engaged with this program, though we are always happy to talk to them if anyone would like to. I was looking at people online. So if anybody does want to talk about the tax abatement program, please drop me a line. We'll connect, and I'd be happy to. Any other questions about reporting this year? I also want to say special thanks to the assessor's office for working with me on how to do the reporting for the tax abatement. This was the first year that one was required to report. One of the quirks of this is that you don't take the tax abatement in your first year, because during your first year, you've been under construction and the assessed value has changed and you want to maximize it. And so we wrote it out as the first year after occupancy, which is why we are now getting reporting coming in. And yeah, so that's all I have for that. Any questions? The last item on my sharing list is we were successful in getting a Business Oregon infrastructure grant for the Tillamook Bay Commons project. This is because they are now a nonprofit. These funds are designed to go to nonprofits really, and there's a much lower cap on how much money you can get, and you're at the bottom of the line if you are not. And this is for the engineering and architecture of the public infrastructure parts of things. So the parts that the county or the city will eventually own, this is to help design them. And so that was for $100,000, and that has begun to be being dispersed this week. So that was another little win on the month. And that concludes my housing commissioner or coordinator report, unless anybody has any questions for me.
All right, Sarah, you're on deck.
And Sarah, this is just to give the calendar update that we talked about. And I'm happy to if you're not available.
Thank you. Yeah, we, as you can imagine with the holiday tomorrow, we're short-staffed, so I'm double timing it over here. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about the housing report for public hearings with the county for upcoming middle housing code updates. The first hearing is next Thursday. It's July 10th, and that will be at 7 p.m. You can use this same link that we use for the Housing Commission meetings that's on the bottom of the Community Development homepage. You can use that link if you would like to join us virtually. If you would like to join us in person, we will be out at the Port of Tillamook Bay Conference Center, which is where you're at this morning. We had a pretty lengthy work session last Thursday night. I want to thank Gail and the rest of the Planning Commission for hanging in there with me on that marathon conversation. Parker was there. I had several staff there and was just really excited at the dialogue and the pieces that we did in that work session to prepare for hearing next Thursday night. Next Thursday night, all of the middle housing code updates will be considered and deliberated by the Planning Commission, except for the zoning work for two communities, and that is Oceanside and Neocani. I will be bringing those forward in August. But all of the other unincorporated communities, that includes Barview, Twin Rocks, Watsiko, Oceanside, Neatarts, Pacific City Woods, Nescowan, Hebo, and Cloverdale, with the new middle housing code section for development standards and all of the updates that we needed to do to the land division ordinance and the Tillamook County land use ordinance. All of that will be deliberated by the Planning Commission next Thursday night. So that is the bulk of the work. That's going to be a really important hearing. Following that hearing, the Planning Commission, if they feel ready, will be making a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners on all of those updates. The Board of County Commissioners is scheduled to hear this all on July 23rd. And that is also, that hearing will begin at 5:30 p.m. Let me double check that here real quick. 5:30 p.m. And it will again be there at the Port of Tillamook Bay Conference Center. And also, again, that same link will be used that is being used today for the Housing Commission meetings. The Board of County Commissioners are the decision makers in this process. And so they will be the ones who will choose to adopt all of these code amendments. And so then with that, then Oceanside is scheduled to go before the Tillamook County Planning Commission on August 14th. And the bulk of the work, again, for the middle housing code, development standards, etc., will already have been done. This is a big meeting because this is specifically pertaining to the residential zoning districts in Oceanside. They are proposing to reduce their building height maximum and some other things in addition to middle housing code updates that the community has been working on. I actually have to do Measure 56 notice for their work. So that hearing will take place with the Planning Commission on August 14th, same place, same time, 7 p.m. The Board of County Commissioners are scheduled to hear those community updates on October 22nd, and that will be where you are at, and that is scheduled for 5:30. Nia Connie will be rounding out the final pieces of this again for their zoning, their residential zoning district updates only. And right now I have them scheduled for August 25th with the Planning Commission, and I do not have a date with the Board of County Commissioners yet. So all of the Planning Commission hearings start at 7 p.m. They are there at the port. And Parker will send out an email summary on all of this just to make sure you have the dates written down. But
We'll also be posting it to the website. I'll post every Planning Commission website for the day.
And I can show you real quick online where you can find everything. So I'm going to go ahead and do a share screen here real quick. So here is the community, or excuse me, the county's website. If you go to community development and under the planning tab, if you click on land use applications. Okay, there you go. So for those of you who've never seen this before, anything that requires public notice, this is where all of our applications are for the public to go online and look. This includes the applications themselves, any notices, and any decisions. So where you want to look right now, it's number 2. And as time goes on, it will probably go down the list because they're all in numerical order. But you want to look for the one where Tillamook County is the applicant. And if you click on the link right here, we are posting all of the drafts. Today, I have to post the hearing packet for the hearing next week. Every update, every document for these land use proceedings will be posted here on this page. You can see all the code draft updates, any decisions, any extra notices. So you're welcome and encouraged to check that out. But again, next Thursday, the 10th, is the big hearing, 7 p.m. Planning Commission, where you're sitting at now, or the same link you're using here. After the 10th, it's the Board of County Commissioners on the 23rd. So their meetings are at 5:30 in that location. And then Oceanside is the 14th with the Planning Commission there, 7 p.m. Board of County Commissioners there on October 22nd. Nia Connie will be August 28th, there 7 p.m. with the Planning Commission. We were going to, Oceanside was initially scheduled for July 24th, but because of Thompson Springs, so I know many of you are closely following that application, we pushed some of the hearing dates for these middle housing code updates back because we have to get a decision out for Thompson Springs within 150 days. And we want to make sure that we are doing that. Thompson Springs, different subdivisions, they're called quasi-judicial proceedings. There's due process language under state law that says we have to render a decision within a certain number of days. For these code amendments, for a legislative text amendment, there's no timeline. So when we get important applications like Thompson Springs or others, we have to prioritize those to the Planning Commission or whoever the decision maker is. So we're going to take a break at the end of July for middle housing to get Thompson Springs reviewed, and then we'll jump back into the middle housing code hearings. Happy to answer any questions.
I don't have a question, but if we're going to be on the topic of Thompson Springs, I did receive a very nice letter from Mr. Schluka today that I'm going to read right now. Dear Housing Commission members, on behalf of the Thompson Springs project, can I please express our gratitude of the contribution made to our effort. The money that the Commission has granted Thompson Springs will have a definite and positive impact on the success of our project and subsequently change lives, possibly for generations. This is true for every dollar you've been able to direct towards affordable and accessible housing. Every minute you generously dedicate to this effort has enormous and lasting values. Thank you. Sincerely, Kevin Schluka and the Thompson Springs team. He wasn't able to get these to me in a letter of intel right during the meeting, but he did want to express his gratitude. So while we're on the topic, I thought I would share that now.
All right, we're making some headway here. So let's move on to the Finance Committee. Dave, do you have any updates for us? Or anything else to add?
So let's see. The inquiries regarding the ag workers housing tax credit have slowed down. I don't think we've received any new inquiries this month. I'd like to rectify that or remedy that. I think we're learning that some of the potential applicants are hesitant to apply because unfortunately, getting a credit granted means a visit by an OSHA inspector. And I'm afraid that some of our dairymen, for example, are hesitant to have an OSHA inspector come out. Which is really unfortunate because that credit is just so significant. Jeff Wong is about to apply or has applied for the credit, and Parker can update us on that. But as a fisherman, he's not as concerned about the OSHA coming to see his proposed processing site. So we've got to be kind of careful as to how we go about this. And I guess it's probably incumbent on me to get a better understanding of just exactly what the scope of that OSHA inspector's review might be. So in other words, if they're going to just come to a farm site, for example, to look at let's say a double wide mobile home, and inspect that rather than wandering around the full site, that might give some of our dairy farmers, for example, a little relief. So we need to figure that out and get a little better understanding of that. So not much else going on there. One other item is that Rebecca Pratt from Summit Bank has joined our finance committee. She's been very active in commercial lending, in particular residential apartments and so on, low income projects. And she's a lender that worked with Kevin Schluka's project in Pacific City. She's joined our finance committee, and at some point in time, if the board sees it appropriate, I think she's an excellent member of the full commission. Other than that, Parker, do you have any updates on Jeff Wong's application for the ag workers tax?
I think I mentioned them, but I think it was while you were still joining. It is moving forward. They are very confident. They've included it in the update to their bankers. So everybody is now kind of waiting, but it sounds like they should have their application complete, and we will know by next week, was what Mr. Wong told me this week.
Great, great. That's all I have. Parker, Kristen, did I miss anything?
No, that covers it in my mind.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave. Moving on, as we have a legislative committee update, we've got a 1/2 pager for you. The number of bills was immense this year, thanks to AI written generation.
Yeah.
But it narrowed down to, at the end of the day, about 15 or 16 bills that did pass. And we're just gonna briefly talk about a few of them. And Parker and I will just kind of jump in.
Yeah, that sounds good.
House Bill 2138. It's basically very similar to Senate Bill 406 that we incorporated. It's actually going to expand it around the state to other rural urban growth boundaries. So like we have the unincorporated communities in Tillamook County that we incorporated into this that had the sewer and water capabilities. Other counties and communities around Oregon may have that to build that in as well. So we are kind of going to be on the forefront of that. So it's just kind of nice to hear that we're leading the state.
I expect that we will also have a lot of other these communities coming and examining our work, looking at our middle housing code updates, because we are 2 and 3 steps ahead of them in this process. Also, in the legislative committee, we kind of talked about this with Mary from Rockaway, and she expressed so much gratitude for the grants and whatnot that DLCD was able to provide to help with their code updates. and we kind of did a little napkin math and there's not quite as much in there per community as there was for us. So once again, by being a leader, by being out front, we've been able to get more resources and really demonstrate that this is a really housing forward community. And yeah, I do expect to see a lot of outreach from the other communities who are just about to get the same news that they must require their codes like we did here in Tillamook.
2258, one nice thing about that one is it's going to require the Department of Consumer and Business Service to establish pre-approved residential building plans. So hopefully that will speed up processes, because if you already have a plan that's already proven and goes through engineering and everything else, it could speed up the process of getting more homes on the ground. Implement rules as the government does, and it won't be, they have until 2027 to do so. So expect a few years to take place before we see that, but moving forward.
Will that include ADU pre-approvals?
Possibly.
I believe so.
And next one, 2658, this one went through a lot of changes over from its beginning. And it's now came out from a case in Portland where a lady did a remodel on her commercial business, didn't add any square footage, and had to basically pay around $100,000 to fix a sidewalk in front of her property. So they basically are saying, no, government can't do that, and put some condition requirements. And one weird thing is it said it didn't apply to rural communities until 2031. So, but we didn't really see any impact here, but we just wanted to make note of it because it did pass. Yeah.
Just so you guys are all aware, I'm the vice chair of the Urban Renewal Board in Tillamook, and we're actually doing a sidewalk improvement project on First and Second Street. So hopefully that will be, or that's part of our plan for this year. We're doing plans, working with the engineer now. So hopefully that will help some of these people out until 2031.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and that was our thought, is a lot of cities do that work to beautify their communities and bring everything, rehabilitate. Next one, 2698, it basically creates a statewide goal of home ownership. So I think Briar probably was really happy to possibly hear that one. And they're going to be requiring House and Community Services Department to track goals on progress of that goal. So it at least is added in there that homeownership is a tool to better our communities.
Which may impact grants, I assume, at some point.
Along the line, yeah. But
Applications.
Yeah. We'll see more on that. Parker, do you want to take the next one?
Sure. House Bill 2964. This is going to look a lot like the pre-development fund that we looked at that was originally given to the Oregon Facilities Authority that we talked about, right when I first started. They've now kind of moved it over into OHCS. And this is for, it originally was going to be more. I took a look at this and they did pare it down to low income only. And in this case, low income means 80% or below AMI. But there is now a $20 million from the general fund. And this allows OHCS to put out grants and loans up to $200,000 each for those difficult pre-development costs that we have heard so much about, such as, surveys, planning, legal, community engagement, et cetera, et cetera. This is a really powerful tool to help get affordable projects from conception into actual development. And it's really difficult to get the money to be loaned for pre-development costs because they're the highest risk at that point in the project. You don't know if it's going to go. So this is a powerful tool, and we will be following it closely as the program develops. I'm going to try and get myself on the rules committee for that one as well. And if you don't mind, I'll take the next one too.
Please.
3031, the Housing Infrastructure Production Fund, administered by the Oregon Infrastructure Finance Authority through Business Oregon. This is to provide forgivable loans and grants for roads, water, sewer, stormwater, and site development of infrastructure specifically needed to support new residential and affordable housing projects. And this will eventually have $100 million in it, but they've started with an initial $10 million. This is, in my opinion, the most effective, important, and relevant bit to come out of the legislative cycle with regards to housing. Everybody knows that infrastructure is a huge challenge. Unfortunately, $100 million seems like a lot, but for the state of Oregon, it is not that much. And so if we were going to chase this, we would want to be chasing it really, really hard the moment it opens. So another one we're going to be tracking very closely. It's always kind of a mystery how long it takes some of these programs to get up and running and for them to cut checks. But because this is with Business Oregon, it'll be much faster than the other programs that are available. They really crank it out. So we will continue to talk about that, but with the vast need for infrastructure all over the county, I expect there to be a lot of interest in this, and I hope that we can just apply for way more than there is in the fund all on our own and see what we can get, but we'll demonstrate the need. And if any cities want to talk to me about that, they're welcome to. So we'll keep that conversation going.
So 10 million or 100 million?
They initially funded it with 10 million, but it will go to 100 million through the year, is my understanding, though I don't know if I speak legally as well enough to fully understand how that funding mechanic works.
Just to note, House Bill 3054, there was a 6% max rental increase for people in manufactured home parks greater than 30 units or 30 spaces. So that may affect several of our manufactured home parks in the county. Another one, 3144 prohibits new recorded instruments or governing documents. Basically, no, it bans or restricts communities from banning manufactured homes. In Tillamook County, it was several 10 years ago that we eliminated that from all Tillamook County codes. So just to note that other communities are gonna have to do that as well.
I'll take 3145.
Please.
It's all right. This is one I've been tracking really carefully. It was originally proposed with $50 million to do 5 sites. They kept the 5 sites and cut the money in half. So there's now $25 million. This is to use the LIFT program through OHCS to support prefab home manufacturing. One of the reasons I've been following this so closely is because there is a specific call out for the coast to get one of the sites. And that is why, that's where I live. So really trying to track this one. It's a very confusing one in how it's presented. It really does seem like it's geared towards mass timber. And one of these ones that feels like they had specific projects in mind already. But another reason I've been tracking it is because of the McCray property and how close to a housing production site that property already is, and how some millions of dollars from LIFT funding could really transform it into an effective housing production site. So the McCrays got a grant through BBQ, the Built Environment Group, for $25,000 to do some master planning work. I am helping to really encourage those consultants to see how far they could take this 3145 and see how much it could apply to that project. I will also keep you guys posted on that. It's one of our projects, so we keep track of it too. But just to remind you, the McCrays have both industrial and residential land. And so the residential project that we supported is on some of their residentially zoned land, while this would be, again, for the actual industrial. Any questions on that one? And if anybody does have follow-ups, please, happy to sit down and go into these in more detail.
And that's in Bay City.
That's in Bay City, yeah, the McCray one there. It could also be a potential that out here at the port, if the port wanted to look at getting a housing production facility, that this might be a good time to apply for that. So those are kind of the places I see it being applicable here.
Then House Bill 3505, there were situations where if you installed a residential fire sprinkler system, they were actually increasing your SCC fees. because of the water, the size of the meter would be larger to support that fire system. Now they're saying that you cannot do that. So it's a good thing. 3589 House Bill, it requires OHCS to focus on senior housing and it sweeps money from tax deferrals for such housing. So it's just kind of it was very convoluted even in summary, but that was just a quick little digest. So I'm not gonna go any deeper on that one. Essentially, it just kind of says, hey, we need to look at senior housing. We have an aging population.
From
Who's
tax deferrals?
Their senior tax deferrals. They have a pot of money and they're reallocating that
It
internally.
doesn't, it's not prescriptive for what we have to do.
No,
Okay.
no. Then Senate Bill 51, it allocates funding for the Housing Development Center, Inc. to support property management of low-income housing. And and also establishes a program to preserve affordable housing, including manufactured dwelling parks and marinas. So so we'll probably look into exactly what the Housing Development Center, Inc. does a little bit more and probably give you future feedback if we find anything of interest that relates to Tillamook County.
That's something that I've been wanting the state do more of. I've been long now saying that the state starting or supporting a nonprofit housing management company would do a lot. I wish they would take it one step further and just subsidize insurance for affordable and middle income housing. And having some sort of state buy-in insurance program on that, I think would do even more. So that's, yeah, just wanted to throw my 2 cents in that.
You want to take the next one, Parker?
Can I just ask a question? Is it true that Oregon requires longer than 30-year commitments for affordable housing?
That entirely depends on the type, where the money comes from. That is it depends answer. And, yeah.
Because other places are discovering that to preserve affordable housing, that's one very easy step.
Yeah.
To make it longer, because 30 years comes really fast in 30 years, and that's the end.
Yeah, and one of the things that happens after 30 years is when you start getting the maintenance bills. And so then you have to have more preservation dollars in, and you already see a lot of our money being allocated to preservation for properties that are, have a lot of affordable time left, or when they take the preservation dollars, it re-ups their affordable commitment. So an example of this is Darren Murphy's project right now in the Bayside Gardens area. He's taking that old care center and converting it to housing, and the affordability requirements get renewed as he takes preservation dollars, because that is a project that was built with public funds. So retaking them restarts the clock. But yes, we also, Kristen, we do have a lot of projects that do voluntarily commit to longer than 30 years.
Right.
And then all of the community land trust projects will always be permanently affordable.
Which is worth bearing in mind.
Yes, yes, it is. Next one is, let's see, 684. Yeah, this is really about reducing limits on mixed income housing. So they're pretty strict on how they divide up the affordable, the low income from the middle income. This removes some of the restrictions so that more mixed income projects can be funded through OHCS.
And it's also dealing with housing authorities too.
Yes.
So housing authorities can have a little bit more freedom in their tenant mix.
And in the type of properties.
Yeah.
I expect that that's also so that it can include ADUs.
In Senate Bill 967, it basically allows local governments to enter into IGAs or intergovernmental agreements for developing property in the urban growth boundary. So they can do some sort of co-financing project. For example, if somebody wanted to develop on the east side with the county, say we had a huge grant fund or had a big pile of money and wanted to develop over on the east side of Tillamook. We could enter into an IGA with the city of Tillamook to possibly enhance the infrastructure.
Yeah.
That it just allows some more flexibility there between governments to coordinate the housing for housing.
Yeah. One place this could apply is at the UGB expansion project in Bay City. And to refresh everyone's memory, Senate Bill 1537 had a one-time urban growth boundary exemption. That cities who had not expanded the urban growth boundary in some time could utilize very easily. Bay City is one of the only cities in Oregon who's doing this right now. There's a handful that I think we're the most far along. But this is one that Rockaway could use. I checked with Mary that if you guys are interested in UGB expansion, I know there's a lot of projects coming in to Rockaway, and so if you wanted to be ahead of it, we could take a look at that as well. And then going on to 974, unless there's any questions, this one speeds up the review of housing permits, streamlines local permitting, faster review times, simplified land use procedures for residential developments. But it's really important to note that this is only within the urban growth boundaries. This does not apply to the general unincorporated areas. And there's a lot of specifics about like how and when the clock starts on that. If there's any questions, I'm happy to. Well, Sarah, bring her back.
It calls out within urban growth boundaries. Is that by definition inclusive of the cities that those boundaries are?
Yeah, I mean, within the boundary.
Okay,
so
just curious.
Sarah, did you want to speak at all about 974?
Yeah, just to say real quick, that was actually a bill at the legislative level with the technical team I was intimately involved in. That has been one of the most, in terms of planning and development, one of the more controversial bills this last session. There were a lot of iterations to it. It initially applied to everyone, and they ended up redirecting the focus to city UGBs. And that was largely because of limited staffing and resources that many jurisdictions were very concerned they could not meet those timelines. And when I talked a little bit earlier about due process and Thompson Springs, those are the challenges and the realities of Oregon's land use program. So once an application is deemed complete, is not necessarily when it's submitted, right? Those are two different actions, a submittal and a deeming it complete. It's when an application is deemed complete that those clocks that are part of that bill that Parker talked about, those clocks start ticking. And whether it's that clock or other clocks that we all have for land use decisions, the reality is that if a local jurisdiction does not render a decision within those timeframes, they're at risk for litigation. And so this bill is a great example of several really important things coming together. One is the streamlining work of all of the land use processes, whether it's through legislation or at local levels, like us doing the middle housing codes with clear and objective standards. It also highlights the sense of urgency that the state is recognizing that we need to make changes. But then the third piece is that caught in the middle of local jurisdictions where they're concerned about being able to meet those timelines without adequate funding and resources for their planning offices. And so all of that came together into this bill for the UGBs. I anticipate this bill will continue to be further refined and will eventually expand and broaden to all planning offices for residential permits for zoning. But I think where this ended up is another really important step in the state's commitment to streamline processes and get more houses on the ground. So I applaud their efforts, and I was really excited to be a part of that discussion.
Thanks, Sarah. Nice to have background. And the last one is Senate Bill 5531. It's the lottery bond bill that we had some great people.
We had the whole county had a lot of really great applications for this. This is something that I saw a lot of people put a lot of work into to pitch their high needs. When they initially started, there was $500 million forecasted to be available in lottery bonds. The new economic forecast came out and dropped that number to a little under 300 million. There was over 2 billion in ask. So from the beginning, most of us applying knew that it was long shots, but I only saw one housing project get direct funding, and it was $6 million for a place called Meadowlark, and it is senior housing in Beaverton, Oregon. There was requests for infrastructure. There was requests for the Tillamook Bay Commons had a big request in, and yeah, so not a lot of success there, but they did continue to fund housing community services, though this year mostly filled up the coffers for preservation dollars. And then Oregon Business Development, so Business Oregon did get that $100 million allocation for housing infrastructure. And that I see as the big win coming out of the lottery bonds this year in terms of things that we can access. I pulled out where this went by departments. There was a few other small projects, and if anyone's more interested in how to see the whole list of 5531 funded projects, I'm happy to share that.
And Parker, can you turn this into a PDF? Because these are links, and so we can post it on the website.
It is already a PDF and is posted on our website.
And so the links will take you straight to the bill, and you can read the bills in entirety.
I would like to just say thank you to all of the housing commissioners, members of the community, everybody who wrote a letter in support of the projects. It means a lot to see that when you go on and see that list of all of these letters for us. And next session, we'll get them.
Yeah, we have a lot of work ahead of us. And also on the legislative side, we are gonna have one more meeting as a group to just kind of recap and just kind of figure out a time frame on where we're gonna start for the next short session in 2026, because that will be a rapid fire session. So we're gonna try to tweak our processes so where we can be a little bit more ahead of the game versus behind. It's a learning curve. So we're gonna have that. We're doing a doodle poll. We have we're gonna have openings on the legislative committee. So if anybody's passionate about legislation, right now we're kind of down to 3.
Yeah.
At 3 active, Megan tries to pop in when she can.
Yeah.
She's just swamped with planning.
Yes.
But if there's anybody that is interested in legislation, we do meet well, this time we were trying to do weekly. We ended up, near the end, we were almost meeting weekly. Didn't usually happen, but we did our best.
Yeah, we'll have a better plan, more of a calendar heading into the short session, and then we'll really be in that session doing the same thing and planning for the long session in 28.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Great job of monitoring all the new housing bills.
Thank you.
And then, I don't see Michelle out there. So Kristen, do you have anything on outreach?
No, because I have video, but Mark has.
Okay.
Let's see. We've been talking generally about how to strategize, getting our message out. The Bay City event was part of that, asking everyone to try to outreach.
And the Manzanita.
Oh, yes.
And, just all of these, times when the housing commissioners are showing up to these meetings has been producing a lot of goodwill and also really letting us get our message out there, put a face to it, show part of the community. So I really appreciate the work of the outreach committee on that.
And it has, I had gone last year really as a housing commissioner, just to introduce myself to city council meetings at Manzanita, Nehalem, and Wheeler. Some of them didn't know, the counselors, that there is a housing commission, and they turn over when they get elected. So if there's a local entity that anyone here has time to attend meetings virtually or in person, I'll revisit this as an outreach personally, just to go and say, you're a new mayor, there's a housing commission. If you have housing issues, ask Parker. But so strategizing, that's sort of what we're trying to do, both with commissioners here and in general. And get publications in local Facebooky, and, other local social media outlets.
Great. Go ahead.
Is it okay to make a public comment? Or are we at that section?
Just,
Not quite.
let me get to the development committee and then I'll, get some time for you.
Sorry, great.
No worries. So, the development committee update is that we are officially going to be starting the development committee, with a really kind of narrow focus. The raw property. So I attended the Missing Middle Housing Fund, Let's Build Oregon Summit. And they have different focuses at these meetings. This year, it was really focused on innovation partners and companies that are trying new things, or doing things differently. And in my group, I was with Kristen, and four really cool innovation companies that each kind of represented one aspect or element of the raw property to what it would take to get it operational. Just to remind everybody and give some updates, the raw property is 47 acres of county-owned land within Tillamook City's UGB. And Tillamook City has some challenges with their sewer, and it'll be some time till the sewer would be able to make it out to this property. And so we are looking at innovative wastewater treatment solutions to be able to get some infrastructure in so that the property can become developed now. And one of the people in the group was a group called 3PO, and they specialize, their whole business is doing third-party ownership of infrastructure. So this is a company where they will come and build the infrastructure and get their money back over time by billing the homeowner. So that's not like an ideal way to get infrastructure. Ideally, we are building it with all this great money we have, but we don't. So we're kind of looking at different solutions. And then there's a few other manufactured home builders, people who are specializing in cottage clusters. And in these work groups, sometimes projects actually start to get created, which is once I looked around the room and saw who was like, hey, I've got 20 acres of property if you guys want to think about this in terms of an actual place. So we did, and we spent probably the second half of that meeting just kind of brainstorming how this piece of property could, through innovation, become operational cheaper, sooner, quicker, faster. They then asked me to present it to the greater conference with about 80 people there or so. And I was like, okay, we need some acronyms then, because acronyms are catchy. So this is now called Project Cheddar. And there's a whole acronym, something to design, development, and redevelopment. But, Tillamook, cheese, cheddar. And that is what the development committee will be focusing on. And at the end of this, when you present, people can sign up to become part of your projects. And we had 17 people from this conference sign up to say, we would like to be included, we'd like to be updated, we'd like to work with you.
These are not just people, these are businesses.
These are businesses, yeah, all around the world too. So it's very cool to have that kind of support, but it's also kind of overwhelming when it's just me and like a presentation I made a few months ago. So I'm going to be really reforming the development committee to really focus specifically and only right now on the raw property, help me coordinate and corral all of this interest. This will be a more involved committee over the next few months. And so I'm going to be really trying to gather people who are going to really want to work on this one. Especially because the state of Oregon just gave $100 million for infrastructure to Business Oregon. And we have a great working relationship with them. So you can start to see there is this legislative opportunity, there is this innovation opportunity. What we need to do is create a spider web, put ourselves at the center of it, and start to put these pieces together if we want to see the raw property get moving anytime soon. So I'm going to be sending out an email to all the housing commissioners asking for your interest in the development committee. If you want to be a player, a support, or if you just want the updates at the meeting, that's fine. Again, I'm worried just with all of the interest that I'm going to need more of you guys to help me manage this, what will start as a very unruly group. But I do expect great things from it. And if we can get this one right, then we will have the bones to like really take on some other property throughout the county too. And hopefully we'll start to see more property come to us because of our great success with this one. So that's kind of my development committee update. It's a long-winded one, basically to say, get ready, y'all, here we go. So I will be reaching out and yeah, Kristen.
I just wanted to add about the meeting that we're in, the Housing Solutions meeting. It was Housing Solutions. So all of these people are new, trying out new strategies. They may be older companies, but they have new angles. And so they're not just altruistically wanting to help Tillamook County. They want a field to try out their products. And, you know, the minute the 3PO guys started talking about an alternate infrastructure for wastewater, then hooking up to city wastewater, but like our light bulbs went on because we have that piece of land. And so Parker and I were pushing like, oh, we have this opportunity in Tillamook County. And somehow that just translated into after lunch. Everything was focused on Tillamook as the case study. And they were so excited. And we were really the only project that was presented at the end that was a project, not just how to improve one company's advantage, but to use everybody's advantages to create new housing solutions in a specific place. So it was really pretty exciting to be part of that and to see the potential or the kind of enthusiasm that kind of materialized about Tillamook County, and hopefully we can pull it off.
You know, when I got this job, one of the things I was told was that I was the county's closer for housing. And it's very clear you guys get to see me sell Tillamook, like Kristen got to see me. You're like, you two be working together on this property in my county. So yeah, it was fun to get to be seen doing that. So yeah. That's all I have for development committee. And then I'm going to give a very quick update for Housing Production Solutions 2025, because that is basically just another get ready, y'all. So every meeting, every committee this month will be focusing on the Housing Production Solutions Fund opening in August. Outreach, we will be focusing on putting the message out. We're going to get a notice to the paper. We're going to make sure that everywhere far and wide knows that the applications will be opening in August. They'll be closing in October. We'll have our presentations then. And then we will be having our standard evaluation process, allocation discussion, and we'll have it all wrapped up before the end of the year. And going forward, this will be our schedule. So it's going to be a little tighter to last year than the year prior, but going forward, it will be on this annual basis. This is when it will happen. We have a great timeline, and as the funds start to stabilize, we'll know how much we have to give away before we are, too far along. So finance, we'll be talking about the changes we'll be making. Legislative, I don't think we'll have to do anything. But development committee, we'll see if there's a way to fit in the production solutions fund there, though that has already supported the raw property a little bit. So we probably don't need to do that either. Really, it's going to be outreach and finance doing the heavy lifting. I will come to you at the next meeting with a proposal for the changes that are being made, a new framework, and some materials to put the messaging out. And then once you guys give your blessing at that point, we will officially be open with our new rules and regs, and we'll be intaking applications at that point. So fair amount of work to do on this this month, but I'm confident we'll get there without incident, and it'll be the best housing fund evaluation process yet. We get better every year. And yeah.
All right. Well, now it's time for public comment. Feel free.
I'm so thrilled to be here because this is just so engaging and so stimulating, and it's so nice to see so much enthusiasm and so much excitement about what you're doing, and I think you guys are really making a huge difference. So this got my brain thinking in two different directions. One, as the vice chair of urban renewal, is anybody familiar with urban renewal or kind of what we do? So we are the Formula One race car of financing. So we have this massively broad, system of things we're allowed to fund, from new construction to small businesses to, little updates or new investment in getting in businesses into the community. But we're also allowed to get involved in infrastructure. And so when I see HB 3031, we are a little fish. We're not going to be your $100 million solution, but we could be a couple $100,000 solution, or given enough time and enough notice, we may have access to a couple of millions of dollars that we might be able to help, get involved in a project like this. I don't want to speak for anyone, but I was having a really great conversation with Erin Scarr a few weeks ago, and she was saying part of her concept, once again, don't quote me, but part of her concept is energy in motion tends to stay in motion. And so even though this whole sewer project may be $100 million, what if we can get 2 million of it started and get a pipe moving forward? And so, we would potentially be a strategic partner for getting some of that capital going. The other thing that popped in my head, and I am not a neoliberal, but I am interested in how states can make a profit or generate income for projects. And with climate change, there's going to be a huge demand for water, not just for farmers, but also for firefighting, forest roads, things like that. If we're about to put a huge pipe running through this delta, are we not going to have access to a ton of fresh water, a ton of salinic water, and a ton of seawater? Could part of this project have a water pumping station, and we could sell the water to firefighters and farmers around not just Oregon, but potentially Northern California and Washington? That might add several $1 million to the budget, but it could also create long-term jobs, because it would need to be maintained, it would need to be sold, and it could also provide income for a project like this. So that's just kind of a, brainstorming idea. I don't know if something like that's been floated. So anyway, those are my kind of two things that was skewed on this. And then finally, I'm a private developer and general contractor, and I look forward to potentially working with you all in the future. So thank you so much. Great work, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? I don't see anybody else's hand raised. All right, well, thank you. Oh, Gail.
I just want to speak for everybody. I'm sure. Thank you, Kristen and Parker, for seizing the moment.
Good.
Gonna deliver now.
Dave was at that meeting too, but he was unfortunately in a different committee group, so didn't share that's this particular project, but he'll be invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, our next meeting is August 7th. At 9 a.m. Fair.
Oh.
So we might have Parker send out a dual poll.
I will see. Yes, I will. I'll work with Sarah on what another option would be that is not fair.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chris is like, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, I think that I just looked at our date and I was like, yeah, okay.
If we're opening the fund, it should probably be you. Yeah, absolutely. Great. Thank you all so much for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday.
That's it.
Thank you all.